All right. I want to say thank you for tapping in with me. I'm the ambassador, and you're watching live and unscript on Street Barter Pro. And I have the legendary Coach Orness, Scott Orness from North Kitsap. Hey, before we get started, I want you to introduce yourself real quick, and then we're just gonna have a bunch of questions and just conversations catching up.
Yeah, I'm Scott Orness. Been coaching for, I guess, 23 years now. Bounced around a little bit. Started down at Franklin Pierce with my dad down in Tacoma for a couple of
Okay.
years, and at Puyallup High School for a year as an assistant. And then I was at Bainbridge for 11 years, and then North Kitsap for 9, and now I'm back at Bainbridge. So kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I didn't know the previous part down in Tacoma. I read up and I saw that you was at Bainbridge. Impressive. 9 years at North Kitsap. That's why I said the legend. You went and got uh, conference title every year. Went to state, and so I think one of the first questions after reading on the article that caught my attention was the fact that you was at Bainbridge when they was still in 3A, and so you was playing in the Metro. So to go from
Yeah.
Metro, what I mean, over to the Puget Sound League, that is a major jump.
Oh yeah. No, when Bainbridge moved from the Olympic League to the Metro in 2000, 2001, the coach then, he took off. He's like, no way am I doing this. And, I was a young 26-year-old coach who thought I could really do whatever I wanted. And I got humbled pretty quickly my first few years. You know, I even remember asking Phil Lumpkin, who's passed away now. He was at O'Day. Like, hey, how can I get these island kids to win over in the Metro League? And he said, you'll never do that. And I'm like, oh, well, thanks for the help, But 4 years later, when we beat him for the first time, I was pretty excited about that. So, you know, it was a good run, and I had some really, great talent. Stephen Gray, went on to play at Gonzaga and professionally for I think 14 years over across the big pond. And
Yeah.
Kobe Gibbler is probably one of the best bigs I've had at 6'9". I mean, we had
Oh,
6'10"
wow.
coming off the bench. It's the best team I've ever had. Yeah, that was in 2007. So yeah, so but I will say, like the Metro League, it wore me down, just the amount of travel, and kids just moving around all the time. That was always hard. But I don't know if you remember a kid named Reggie Moore, a great basketball player, ended up playing at Washington State.
Yeah.
We played against him when he was at O'Day on a Friday night, and then we roll into Rainier Beach on Monday. It was MLK weekend, and he's suited up and warming up with Rainier Beach. So I got to play against him on Friday, and he probably had 28, and then I got to play against him on Monday, and I'm like, how in the
Oh,
heck did this happen?
wow.
So, anyways, yeah, but I will say, like, I look back, and I'm thankful for my time that I got to coach there against the best. And I don't think I'd be where I am today. I still got a long ways to go as a coach and learn and grow, but I had to grow fast there and game plan every game hard for really good talent. We were outmatched most games. So I'm thankful for that part. I mean, we had some pretty lopsided losses too, but you know, it was a good time.
No, I mean, of course, I haven't had to. Well, no. Well, on the girl side, on the boy side. So on the girl side, we did make it to the playoffs at CK. So I had to go
Yeah.
against that was South. Wait, Seattle. I think it was South. But I mean, the Metro League is a different animal.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and then because that's one of the big things you have. You went from, you said, Puyallup.
I went to Franklin Pierce where my dad
Right.
was the
Okay.
coach. So actually my first year, Maya Davis was a senior at Bremerton. And we didn't face
Okay.
them, but we were at the same district tournament, and Franklin Pierce was 3A at the time.
Okay.
And my dad, the next year, kind of stepped down. He didn't really step down, but he said, "Okay, I'm the CEO, and you're the head coach." And so he would come to only like 3 or 4 practices a week, and I was young and doing it, and then he actually retired from teaching and coaching, and I was already teaching in Puyallup, and I just love my teaching job, and I didn't want to go out to Franklin Pierce and coach, and so I volunteered at Puyallup High School for a year, but I really missed kind of that quick bite or taste of being a head coach a little bit with my dad, and so I applied for the Bainbridge job, and maybe I was the only one that applied. I don't know, but they gave it to me. So,
No, I mean, and I think that's pretty exciting. Especially, I'm excited to watch this, right? For you to come back and get with the group of kids that you're going to be getting with, because I had a chance to watch them this past year,
yeah.
uh, and I was impressed. I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" The two brothers. I think it's two brothers that's on that team, right?
Yeah, are you thinking of the Rohrbachers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the one will be a senior. He actually didn't end up playing last year. He was
Okay.
East, and he has to play for me this year. It's actually
Okay.
part of the deal. It's part
Okay.
of the package of what I signed. But he's the one. He's probably, I don't know, 6'4", 6'5", and shoulders this big, and he's a
Wow.
big time baseball player. D1 recruit, and he
Okay.
focuses on baseball, but he does all the little things. He boards hard. He sets great screens. He works his tail off, and I need him. So
Yes.
I hope he's going to listen to this. But anyways, and then his younger brother was a freshman, Ryan Rohrbacher, last year, and he's a phenom. Like, I think he had 11 threes against Olympic in a game, and he averaged, I don't know, 15, 16 a game, I think, something like that.
Wow.
But he can really play. He has an offer from Seattle U already.
Wow.
So those two guys, Caden Thielman will be a senior, and he's been really good for them. He had a tough year last year just because of injuries with
Okay.
his ankle, but he had a great sophomore season, all league season. And then there's a lot of little pieces. I think we have a shot at being pretty good next year. So, but they got a lot to learn starting
Yeah.
Monday. So
So yeah, I know, right? It is already that time.
yep,
Right? It's time to get back in the lab and start preparing for this upcoming season. And I was just thinking, even like myself over at CK,
yeah,
gotta get back in there and make it happen. So
yep.
how is my man Caden doing?
Cade, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, he had a great year. He
Okay.
he left to Gonzaga right after he graduated last year. He didn't
Right.
have to because he was just a walk on, but he's like, no, I'm going. And so he basically slept on people's couches all summer, and then worked out because he didn't have an apartment or a dorm or anything in the summertime since he was a walk on. And then yeah, he just got better and better. He was in basically like the practice rotation of their 12, 13 guys when they had 18 on the roster.
Okay.
When he didn't travel to everything, but when he was home, he got the invite to play in John Stockton's runs that he has over there. And
Wow.
the first thing everyone told him when he got his first invite is that they're like, if you screw up, you'll never be invited back. Stockton's, it's pretty tough. And Cade came down just off the break, off the dribble, and pulled up from the top and hit a three. And Stockton just looked at him and said, "Don't ever do that again." He said, "Move the ball." And I told Cade that's because Stockton's 65 years old. He doesn't want to play up and down. But
Right.
anyways, he got invited back, and Stockton's actually been really good for Cade. He's worked him out a few times, and
Okay.
he's a fan of Cade's game. So and Stockton pulls a lot of weight over there in Spokane.
Yeah.
So no, but he's doing great. He just came home for a little bit. He was down in California with a couple of friends having an actual vacation, but he goes right back over there on this Sunday, and he'll be there
Okay.
till August 1st. So um, yeah, and he's right now just, I don't know if you've talked to him. He got a full scholarship. He's on scholarship now,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, so he bet on himself, and he could have gone to a lot of D2s, and his thought was maybe I go to a D2 and prove myself, and then get in the portal and get picked up with a D1. But I'm like, you got your foot in the door at one of the best D1
Right.
schools in the country. Why don't you bet on yourself and go over there and do it, man? And he did it, and he took on a walk on redshirt role, but um, here he is, full scholarship. So I'm really proud of him, and I
Wow.
think that took a big weight off his shoulders. So
No, that is great news. I haven't
Yeah,
spoken to him. I'm definitely gonna have to reach out to him. I think that
yeah,
that's a cool follow up story because of the fact that you know I enjoyed watching him in high school, and he was, of course, hands down one of the best players coming from out of here. And I
yeah,
just knew it was like, okay, Gonzaga, like you said, one of the best colleges to play for, and to bet on himself like that, and to get a full ride. I think
yeah,
that that's something that a lot of just young folks, even around here, need to hear. You know what I mean? Because you
yeah,
don't see that a lot, right? Our kids going off playing at these big colleges, not only just say playing, but how he did it, how he worked, he didn't give up,
yeah.
he, enjoyed the ride, enjoyed the process, and now here he is, right?
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of kids that have a hard time with the process nowadays,
yep,
you know, and they want that instant, you know, and there's just, I've only really had maybe six players in my whole career that really work. Like,
okay,
Cole Rabideau, if you remember Cole, the Olmsteads,
yeah,
Jonas
yeah,
Latour, Cade, Stephen Gray. Those are the ones that I'm sure there's some I'm forgetting, but those guys, like, there's a reason why they're good, and I think a lot of kids just do what their parents set up for them, whether it's a workout with somebody or whatever. But it's the kids that then take what they're learning from their trainer or their coaches and then setting up their own workouts and working.
yeah,
And Cade was doing that in like first, second grade. I'd be writing my practice plan up and he'd be writing his practice plan up, put it on the
wow,
garage fridge and working. I mean, and I'd always tell him like, hey, this is your journey. You're my son. I love you. It doesn't matter. You don't have to play basketball to get that. But I'll be here if whatever you need. You want me to rebound? I'll rebound. And so I never pushed him in that way. And he actually told me the other. He'll disagree, or he'll he's like, why do you push me harder? I'm like, I don't think you'd be where you are if I pushed you. I think this had to be yours. This has to be your
yeah.
journey. So I've seen too many dads in my career push their kid and their kid starts to not love the game anymore. So yeah.
Now that is true. I've seen that as well, and I mean, and I think that, like you said, that line between that's my son, and the
Yeah.
coach. That line. You're like, okay, I don't want to get blur the lines or create these issues because we know as coaches, and yes, we love, even if they're not our sons, like biologically, they still are our sons or our kids, right? Because we love them
Right.
and we treat them a certain kind of way. But like I said, when it is your child and you're like, wait a minute, okay, here's the time I need to be your father,
Yeah.
and I need you to want it. And I think that's, I mean, your game plan worked. You know what I mean? However you say it, it worked. He's at
Yeah.
one of the biggest colleges or best colleges and doing an amazing job. And, and just looking at your resume, and it's been a honor for the time, and I'm excited to have you back on the sideline so I can watch you at work again.
Yeah.
I think that that's the fun part. When I read the article and I was like, oh, he's back. So
Yeah. I mean, I love it. That's the thing. And you know, I knew I'd be back at some point because everyone's like, hey, enjoy retirement. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be back. I don't know when, and I really didn't and then I was actually I was over in Spokane with Cade and Cade's like, hey, I think Will's going to step down. I'm like, really? Yeah, Coach Ferris, and then I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm quite ready to get back in now, but um, I talked to Kate. Actually, Kate, one of the big reasons I stepped down was I wanted to be able to get over to Spokane and watch, just enjoy the experience and be Kate's dad and not be his
right.
coach, and I mean, I mean, I don't know about you. I wouldn't have let my dad do this, but he has like this apartment with two teammates, and they each have their own room. Then there's like a living room and a kitchen, and they take care of that. It's on campus. It's kind of like a dorm apartment. And I
Okay.
kept a cot, a sleeping pad, and a sleeping bag at
Oh,
his place. I would
wow.
fly over on Saturday. Usually we'd get in the gym. He'd go do his team stuff. I'd go watch the game. I'd take him out to dinner afterwards. And these are like Saturdays, during the season after a game when, it's like probably party time for these guys, right? Afterwards. And so I would put earplugs in and I'd go to bed and they would roll in at whatever time. and we'd go get breakfast in the morning. I'd get on the flight and come home.
Wow.
So it was awesome. I mean, I would have never let my dad stay in
No.
there, So it was cool. And I looked back at the schedule, and I would have only missed one at Bainbridge's schedule, and even looked at North's schedule. I'm like, I can do this. And I talked to Kate, and he's like, you got to follow your passion. Like, you can do your passion and follow me and do this. And I'm like, all right, then I'm going to put my name in the hat for this job. So that's how
Wow.
it kind of came about. I thought Will would be there for a couple more years, but he just got too good of an opportunity to go be. He's like, I'm not sure his exact job title, but he's working for Eastside Catholic High School with
Okay.
all their athletes. I think he's doing a lot of the mental coaching. That's his specialty. So yeah,
Yeah.
you should get him on here. He's also working for Team USA and their 3-on-3 stuff. He would be. He's really he's for his young age and stuff he's doing pretty amazing.
Yes, I'm gonna have to reach out to him,
Yeah,
and definitely get him on because I think wanted to use the platform to really just show the resources that we do have, right? I
yeah,
mean, I think that that's one of the things we have. When I first got started, I know you was already here in the high school. I think I came on the scene like 13 years ago into the basketball realm and started at Bremerton High School on the girls' side.
yeah,
And so I was looking around and trying to say, okay, well, yeah, you had Drive and all that. We've heard the Mighty North, that was my nickname for y'all, the Mighty North and all of that. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, it's very few programs. I think Total Package was around at that time. There were certain programs that was around, but then it wasn't a whole lot. It was just in pockets, right?
yeah,
And so, and one of the things that I love that y'all created out there was the feeder system. And I think that that's one of the things, just being able to, I'm a sponge. I like to listen, learn, and then be able to bring it to whoever I'm working with around the kids. And that's one of the things that I looked at. I looked at different areas and looked out here where we're at in Bremerton and Silverdale and said, okay, the programs that are successful, what are they doing?
yeah,
And what are we lacking? And so that was one of the things, is like I said, just watching you with Drive and that organization, and some of the kids I had the privilege with working with, and just saying, okay, well, this is what it looked like in the Mighty North, and coming over and said, okay, this is what we need to do. So, yes, for me, it's all about building those relationships with other coaches. I think that that's another part, just being able to be an example, even for our youth, because I think that's one of the things, too. They get caught up in
yeah,
sort of if you go here or you go there, then we're just in this pocket, but it's like we're a community. When it's all said and done, we
yeah,
have to help one another, and I think it definitely starts with us as the coaches to be their example. So definitely gonna reach out to him, and I'm always, any other resources, other coaches, please let me know that would help, just the not I say the platform, or help just get the word out what we do have around here in the Kitsap area. I think it'd be great as well. Man, one of the things that, like I said, just watching, just reading about you, from going from Bainbridge, and like I said, you went, was it 11 years at Bainbridge, right? Then you went to North 9 years, 50, no, 65 wins, consecutive home game wins. Crazy.
yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of pressure every game. The senior group was always like, phew, we got through that season, you know. But that's and we played good. We had some tough games there, and so it was, But like, I think all those things. You look at I had a great staff. I mean, my coaching staff was amazing. I had really good talent. They bought into what we were doing, um, and we were okay. Like, I mean, what cutting talent sometimes too if they weren't going to fit into, if they weren't going to be a team guy, and that's a hard thing. I think that's one of the things that a lot of coaches aren't willing to do is put the team first sometimes, and sometimes if you get rid of somebody that or they, and there's one that I knew wasn't going to make it, and they figured it out, and they left and they went to a different school, and then came back and actually graduated from North in the spring, which was interesting. But we had a phenomenal run that year, and so, and I don't think we would have been able to do it if there had been too many problems. So, anyways, I'm not going to name a name, but
Right, right,
you
right.
know, but I remember my senior year. I went to Rogers High School in Puyallup. Coach
Okay.
Rod Iverson, he's a Hall of Famer coach, and he cut our point guard, a starting point guard. Um, a sec here.
Okay.
Uh, my senior year, and then I filled in at the point, and but that kid just didn't mesh, and um, he was a problem, and we went 17-3 with a guy that has mostly a right hand and not much of a left, and can barely shoot it, and but I knew how to orchestrate a team, and so I just think I learned that lesson back then. And so when I ran into it as a coach, it's like, okay, I need to make sure I put team first always. And so, and I think that's the message that players try to do for themselves too. We try to say, hey, check your ego at the door. And yeah,
Yeah.
I have individual goals, but we got to make sure those things fit into our team first attitude. So,
So yeah, I was about to say. So that's sort of, I guess you would say, the foundation of your, you would say, success, or when you're building a program, is the fact that it's the team. It's a team concept.
yeah. And
Yeah.
everybody's important. Everybody. It doesn't matter if you're not playing or not. Like our bench energy, I thought was phenomenal at North. Um, and, I mean, my rotations, even when I was at Bainbridge and we went to the state title game in 2007 with Steven, I think I had like a 6.5 man rotation. And
Wow.
when we won it at North in 2020, I think I played 6 guys, like for 4 straight days, you know,
Wow.
and and I mean I've learned a lot. I mean I don't know if you so in '07 we lost to O'Day, and we had beat them 3 times that season. We beat them twice in the regular season, and we beat them for the district championship, and we lost in the state championship. And I mean I thought about that game for years and years until we won it in 13 years. And so, and then we choked in a couple other state games. And I remember going, why is this happening? And there was only one common denominator, and it was me. And I
Okay.
started going, I need to figure this out. Why are my teams in the toughest game not able to perform? And so, and I think the biggest part was I was too much of a hard ass in a way. Like
Okay.
I think they just weren't playing with as much joy. So not that I lowered my standards. What I did was raise the standards to, and I got a lot from Coach Kerr, Golden State. Like he in their practice facility has huge posters and pictures of like joyful moments in a game. And so I kind of used to be like, okay, you make a great play, just get back and play defense. And then I get a guy like, Harry Davies, who
Yeah.
goes up and dunks on somebody. And I mean, not that he's screaming in the guy's face, but he's celebrating that moment while getting back on defense. And even before Harry was Shaw and Kobe and that crew that we won it was like, you know what, I want you guys to play with joy in every
Okay.
moment. And I think what that did was it just made us play looser in tough games. Like this is basketball, but we're having fun, and we're gonna play. We're gonna joy is gonna be coming out of us. And we were down 14 in the semifinal against Linden in 2020, and we went 10 for 10 in the fourth quarter and beat them we outscored them like 29-6. And
Wow.
that was the semifinal that set up our state championship when we beat Clarkston, 56-53. And so I don't think if I hadn't made that change, I don't think, in myself as a coach, I don't think those guys would have been able to do that. I would have screwed them up somehow. So, and actually we had a reunion with my '07 team this last summer, and we had
Okay.
almost like guys flew in from all over the place, and it was awesome. And one of the guys, Austin Wood, he was one of my starters, asked me, he goes, why'd you win it in 2020, and why did we lose in 2007? I said it was because of me. I go, if I had 10 more years, just coaching experience, we would have won it. I would have been ready. So I go, it wasn't you guys, and I firmly believe that. I would have had them more prepared for that moment. So,
No, that's really good to hear, Coach. Like, I mean, I think that that's the thing too. Um, because when you look at it, it's definitely a whole team concept, but a lot do rest upon us on the atmosphere
Yeah,
or how we set up and the mental pressure. Because you got to think you got all the pressure from the outside, the parents, the fans, everybody, and then of course the kids want to make us proud as well. And so when we begin to examine ourselves, we're the first. I feel like. When we start talking about accountability and example for them, and that's something that I'm definitely going to take away from this interview. You know, just continue to examine myself, right, and say how can I continue to help my kids become better. Just listening to what you said, and that's definitely you're going to see this clip. That's going to be the part that I definitely going to put out there because
yeah,
I was sitting here listening and I'm looking. I'm like, oh, I like this. This is good because I know there's a lot of coaches we both had a chance to work with or mentor over the years, and this is
yeah,
something even in my program that I want my coaches to be able to listen to and say, hey, really look at it yourself because there is a place that you got to have accountability. Yes, we understand that, right? But like I tell my kids, when you stop having fun, it's you want to quit. I know for me when I was playing and it was like it's not fun anymore. It's like a job in the sense of the obligation, real hard. It's because it's politics and all these other things that's in play. You don't want to play, but like you said, just what making it where the pressure is still there, but it's a different kind of pressure.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So
One thing, Cade. So Will Ferris, the old coach at Bainbridge, she's worked with Cade a lot. Like
okay,
Will's so good with the mental stuff, and Cade like did 200 pages of journaling this year. And I mean, here's a story, right?
okay,
So Cade's working. This is like a month or two ago, and he's working now with Coach Gentry at Gonzaga, who's like the offensive guru,
okay.
and he's one of the main assistant coaches. And Coach Gentry, like, there's a few things that they've changed on Cade's shot, which needed to happen. He didn't shoot it that great in high school. He'd get to the rack about any time he wanted to, but they changed a few things, and Cade was still had his hand a little bit on top of the ball, and Gentry just lit him up in practice one day, like said some
Okay.
things that like, wow, like you're either this or this. I won't say it on the air here.
Right.
And I'm like, Cade, I hope you didn't answer that because there's no right answer. So Cade went out and just like he hit 23 out of his next 25 shots. I go, well, then you answered it. But he went back. So Cade goes back to his journal and he writes himself a letter from Coach Gentry.
Mm,
And it's something like this, I'm making this up, but it's like, Dear Cade, Coach Gentry here. I bleed blue and red. I love Gonzaga basketball, and I want us to be great next year. And I'm going to coach your butt off, and I'm going to be getting after you every day in practice. And when I do it, you got to know the reason why, something like that. Love
okay.
Coach Gentry. And so now
Okay.
anytime Gentry gets after him, Cade just like, yeah, coach me hard. I know exactly what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
Like
I
that, but
like it.
that's the mental side of, I think. And then also, Cade talked about pressure, like like just growing up in, being my son, me coaching him, the pressure to be good.
Yeah.
Because I think I threw out some things that I probably should have never, like, hey, I hope you're pretty good because that's going to make my job a lot easier rather than like, why is this kid playing, and he's like, I know when I get in the moment playing in front of 30,000-40,000 people at some point in my career, it's not going to bother me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, like play with joy. I mean, and there was, so I don't know if you know the story on how Cade actually got the offer from Gonzaga. Did I tell you that?
He actually was sharing it.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's pressure too, right? Like he had already played 3 games. We go over to
Yeah.
team camp, and I told Coach Michelson, who's the associate head coach, I go, hey, there's 2 guys I'd love for feedback on, and it was Cade and Harry. I go, that number 12 and number 10. I said, and he goes, what's their names? And I'm like, I hate to tell the kid. But I said Harry Davies, and that's Kate Orness. He goes, oh, you kid. And I'm like, yeah. I go, I don't know what level either of them can play at, but I'd love for your unbiased feedback. And so he goes, well, I might not be here for this game because I got to go do a coach's clinic. And so I just go up to Cade and I said, hey, I just let Michelson know to kind of evaluate you while Cade's warming up. You know, he just got off the plane from playing in Wibka event over in Bellevue. And Cade went off for like 40 some odd points. Like, and I'm looking around and Michelson's not there. And I'm like, oh man. And but we go in there, well, I'm at the coach's social. It's like 1 a.m., you know, because that game is a 10 p.m. game. And Cade flew
Okay.
in at 9 p.m. And Gentry, who I just told you about, he came up to me and goes, hey, who's your number 10? And I hadn't told him to evaluate. He goes, we're going to take a look at him this week. And then by the end of that week at team camp, that was Cade's junior year. After his junior year, they offered him. So offered him a walk-on spot,
Right.
whatever. So, and they said it could turn into more. So, anyways, and Cade didn't shoot it well in high school, but he never missed a pressure three, whether it was to tie the game or to win the game, which is, I think
Yeah.
it says something about it. I think I'm bragging about my own kid a little bit. I probably shouldn't, but I'm in dad mode now.
Right.
I don't have to be the coach. So, anyways,
No, I mean,
yeah, it's cool.
it's,
And then you've seen him since he's been playing like with Bakary back in the day and
yes.
everything. So you've been able to watch him grow up a little bit.
I have, and that's what I'm saying. Even like you said, the big shots when y'all was his senior year. I can't remember which game. It was somebody. Which one was it at TCC? I'm trying to remember. It was a couple of
Yeah,
games. Yes, okay,
it was
where
against
he
Brenton.
came.
He ended up losing. They hit that buzzer beater at the end, but he hit that huge
Yes,
runner in the middle.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. I was like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
said, pressure, he shows up.
yep,
And that's the difference when you say good players and great players, to be honest. You know what I mean? He's a kid that I want the ball. You know what I mean? And it's let's go, and not just give me the ball, but even on defense, he was that type of kid. I'm gonna
yep,
make the big plays on both sides. And all right, coach, what's next?
yep,
And so that's the fun part of watching him grow up. Middle school, because I'm trying to think when yes, I think I was at Ridgetop when he was in middle school.
yeah,
So I had a chance to
yep,
coach against him. They had a team then. I'm like, oh my gosh, here it is, a kid,
yep,
you know, he's basically playing with the high schoolers already as a middle school and one of the best players. So it was fun to watch him grow up and to see where he's at now and like to listen to y'all story because like I said, the pressure of being this is my dad. He's one of the best coaches out here. And they always say, we know, oh, you're only playing because that's your dad. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, I'm actually a hooper. I'm a basketball player at the highest level. I'm not just because it's my dad. And so it's a pretty cool story to
yeah,
watch you all. Um, so
yeah.
yeah, and now, for me to make history because I've had both of y'all on my podcast, so it's great. I have two of the best uh, father-son duos in the area on the podcast, which has been an honor as well. So I say thank you, Coach, for taking the time because I know you're busy.
Hey,
Uh,
talking hoops. I mean, how much fun is that? I love it, man. I'm envious that you do this. I mean, think about all the people you get to talk to and
yeah,
what you get to soak in. Like you said, you're a sponge. And I mean, I still have so much to learn, and I love going to coaches clinics or talking to wherever. It's just like I'm learning all the time. Like I even was asking Coach Ferris if he had some offensive sets I know that were successful. I'm like, hey, can you draw those up and send them to me? And so he's 27, 28 years old, but I don't. It doesn't matter. It's like
wow.
if we're always growing and learning. So
That is true. That is, and that's the cool part about, I say, our game and just the relationship because it's one of those things where, like, even myself, whatever, it doesn't matter what level, constantly, if it's middle school, high school, college, you're taking something from somebody's playbooks or, what I mean, you're
yeah,
taking something, you're saying, okay, how can I use this? this is a major resource, and I've seen that help my game over the past decade. And you've been in the game for over 2 decades,
Yeah.
and so I think that is an honor just to watch you still once again. Uh, the fact that you are a Hall of Fame coach. How was that when you heard about that? You got to share that experience.
Well, I didn't even like, I usually go to the meetings, the WIPCA meetings, but I wasn't coaching. So, and I think I don't even know what I was doing that weekend, but it was announced there. And then it was like 2 weeks later, someone's like, "Hey, you're in the Hall of Fame." And I'm like, "What?" So I didn't even find out. And then I think I think Brian Roper called me, Linden coach, and he was one of the ones that kind of put everything together. And because you have to be nominated, and I've nominated actually Steve Johnson, who's getting in this year as well, me and him, and so I was surprised. But it's quite a lot of work. You have to go get letters of recommendation, fill out a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff, and so Roper and Casey Eulin up at PA and my old assistant Josh Perkins, I guess, put everything together. So, but yeah, no, I thought, you know, I think I have 338 wins or something. I thought I'd have to be maybe like 350. You know,
Right,
I
right.
think, but I think the state runs we've had and the
Yeah.
success at North and being able to be successful at two schools that kind of got me the nod there at the end. So, but I think that this award is kind of like a Coach of the Year award, and that what I mean by that is it goes to like even though my name's on it, it goes to like all my assistants I've had, it
Yeah.
goes to all the talent I've had, the administrative support I've had.
Yeah.
Like it just takes a lot to win. You need a little luck. You got to stay injury free. I mean, I thought there were 2 other years that we should have won it. In 20, um, when I had Jonas and them, I think they were 2022. Yeah, when Jonas and Kate was a freshman
Yeah.
or sophomore, and then Kate's senior year, I thought we had a real chance at it too. But it's tough. We lost in the semifinals both those years, which were really, and we had the opposite one year. We were up 13 or 14, and gosh, I can't remember. I'm losing track of the team, but they came back and beat us, and that was devastating. So, but no, I'm excited about it. Gonna have my some family there and some old players, and probably do like a little open house and just be able to connect with people and old players and coaches and stuff like that. So, it's a true honor, and I'm real humbled about it. And you look at the list of names on there, and it's like, wow, can't believe I must be really old or something. I don't know, but yeah,
No, I mean, like I said, it's well deserved. I mean, like I said, just because I would like, yeah, I was at Bremerton coaching on the girls side, and you was doing your thing, and by the time I went to the middle school it was still going, and I got to the high school and it was just like the mighty North. It just would coach, and everybody, the crew, the whole system was going. It was just been fun to watch. That was almost a decade of just watching y'all dominate, in a sense, that era. And so it was like, man, and for me to read about it, I was like, oh man, okay, yep, nine conference, state. I think it's at six out of 6 times you actually was placed in between
yeah,
first and sixth place in
yeah,
state. So that's unheard of. 65 consecutive home games. I'm like you said, I'm counting. I'm like, okay, we play about 20 games, so that's about 6 seasons, 6.5 seasons, just win, home, win, win. That is a lot of pressure, and not to name all the kids that have went off to go and play and have, great careers or success, of some sort. Even if it's not basketball, being able to use basketball to further themselves in life, you know what I mean? And so I think that's the other big thing where people have to understand. It doesn't mean that you have to play professionally. You use
right,
the ball to help put yourself in a place in life, and not just only that, just the things that we do, coach. It's about life when it's all said and done. And amazing young man that you had a chance to mentor and grow up. So that's why I say salute to you, coach, and my hat's off, and it's well deserved, and it's going to be fun to see what you do at Bainbridge. I'm gonna have to catch that. I'm gonna have to get out to Gonzaga too. I'm gonna have to
There
tell,
you are.
hey, Kate, I need to come to Gonzaga. I want to meet John Stockton and all of those people. That's one of the best programs in this, and not just in the state, in the country. So hey, I have to say, amazing job, coach. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm gonna hold you. We don't cut it off now because I want to come back probably, I don't know, say mid-season. I want to follow your run, or just you coming back, because I think it's just an amazing story of just what you have done already. And I know it's a lot of us who's are cheering from the sidelines and excited to have you back in the game. Uh, I don't have to coach against you, so I'm okay. So,
Hey, you're,
so
you're you're doing it as well, man. And I wish you the best. So, and you've
thank
given
you,
a lot to
coach.
this community in a lot of different ways. So it's been fun watching your journey.
Thank you, Coach. I really appreciate that. And so, how can people follow you? If it's social media, because I know, like I said, there's going to be a lot of people that want to watch your journey, and there's a lot of folks. Because I saw one of them, which I know you saw on the Instagram post, was like, "Hey, I'm one of your kids that known you back
Oh
when."
yeah,
So
yeah. No, I mean, I think I'm not all connected to the Bainbridge Instagram and Facebook, but I know they have them, so that'd be a
okay,
place to check it out. And I think our boosters do a good job of advertising and marketing on there. Uh,
okay,
yeah, you can't really open up the paper and see the scores every day like you used to. So
right.
but Scorebook Live has stuff on there. And then the Olympic League, .com or whatever it is, they put the scores up there as well. So no, this should be fun. We excited to really actually start coaching them up on Monday. So
On Monday. So
yeah,
Monday it all starts.
yep,
Coach
here we
is
go.
back. So I'm gonna have to contact you. I'm gonna have to come and do, because I have my other little show I do. I call it the Next Generation, where I actually go and record a little mic and we do a little clip. So I'm gonna have to come out to one of your practices
Sure,
and just check in with you and just meet some of the kids, and I use that platform as well as just for to help our young folks to get more visibility, where it's saying that, hey, because I think that that's one of the things we know with the whole game now, internet, social media, um, which I feel like we do now get a lot more attention in our community than it did, than probably, especially 5, 10 years ago. But we've come a long ways. We have a lot of champions that have
yeah,
come out of here, a lot of kids that have went on to the next level. But that's one of the things I do. So I will be contacting you, coach, where I can come out and just check out one of your practices. And so I can learn too, because I might need some new tips to throw in my book. So, hey,
awesome.
coach, I want to say thank you for taking the time to jump on a podcast with me, and I will be in contact. And I want to thank everybody who have tuned in and who's going to watch this interview with the legend, North Kitsap legend, Coach Orness. Hey, I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, actually, I have Peyton Davis, one of my former players, who's
Yeah,
about to go to Evergreen. Um, so I got podcasts all week. So tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, then I take off on Monday to go to Kansas to go do a camp with Coach Self. So
wow,
that's going to be fun for me to go and learn some more tips and continue to build relationships. So, Coach, hey, I hope you have a good night, sir. And please give my love to the family and to Kate. Let them know I will be contacting him soon.
all right. Well, hey, appreciate it, and I'm real thankful you let me join you tonight.
Yes, sir. All
All right,
right. I'll talk to you later, coach.
yeah, peace.
Okay.
Take
All right.